So I'm gonna speak in English as presentation will be, the video will be watched by non-Lithuanian speaking guys also, so I'm gonna start. Hello everyone, I'll present conference Build Stuff 2015, which was held in Vilnius. And my goal for this presentation is to provide some keywords, skeleton of information, so later you could investigate about it a bit deeper. I'm not an expert of these topics, so it will be my interpretation of talks. I'm Mantas, I'm Oxid developer. Together with my colleague Edvinas, we attended into Build Stuff conference. So before all the presentations, we prepared a list of topics and checked which are on the internet. So we are trying to attend into those topics which were not on the internet and get more value from the conference. And also we are going to different presentations, that's why we have two parts, and the first part will be done by me, and the second part will be held by Edvinas. A little bit about Build Stuff conference. Build Stuff conference could be separated into three parts. First part is pre-conference. It was called appetizer. It was totally free, so you could attend on Tuesday, but of course it was in Vilnius, so you have to go there from Kaunas. Conference itself, it took 3 days. Also, there were workshops, 2 days workshops, which were on weekend. So, conference itself was from Wednesday to Friday, and appetizer was on Tuesday evening. Some remarks about the conference. Almost in every talk, everyone was mentioning functional programming, and it felt that it's a trend right now. Lots of other programmers from other countries said that conference is really cheap. Of course, it costs for one person only 3 days. 3 days conference cost 520 euros, something like that. But other guys were saying that's really cheap and very high quality. So it's up to you. Besides educational talks, there were free time activities, and I got these nice T-shirts and slippers from the conference. So, yeah. And maybe let's start talking about conference itself and about the talks. Day one started with keynote by Uncle Bob. Probably everyone knows who is this guy. And it was an inspirational talk, and if you want to hear about it, please come into part 2. It will be held by Edvinas, my colleague. Currently he's on vacation, so you will not find him here. But I hope that he's gonna watch my presentation. The second talk I was attending was by Nakul Mishra, microservice, no fluff, the real stuff. By the way, before starting, I want to mention that if I was able to find slides, I added the link into the main slide. So later, when I'm gonna share my presentation slides, you will be able to find these links too. So, okay, so this guy is senior software developer, consultant, and architect. Goal of his presentation was that after going out of it, you could start building microservices. Agenda of his talk was that common problems which occurs, microservice, core concepts, pros and cons, and code itself. So he showed live coding. Yeah, it's hard to see. He showed live coding, how he is creating microservices. And first of all, let's talk about common problems for monoliths. That you have usually you have too much complexity which needs to be exposed. Legacy components, it's really hard to upgrade them. New functionality just can't pop. And refactoring is not that really refactoring, we're just doing extraction of code into smaller blocks, but it's not that really refactoring. So. And microservice application looks like that. It contains of small little services which communicate with each other. Yeah, you have lots of different functionalities in separated functionalities per microservice. Core concept of microservices that this guy provided was that first concept is service registry, and service registry is for managing services instances, based on health check of the services. Second concept was load balancing, and I forgot it. Yeah, for concept one, software which could be used is Zookeeper, Eureka, and Console. And concept two is load balancing, and software is Ribbon. For third concept is Edge service, and software Zool. And Zool is the front door for all requests from websites to the backend. Zool is built to enable dynamic routing, monitoring, resilience, and security. This software, I think, also is by Netflix, and I think almost at least one per concept is by Netflix, and which is open source. So you can go and check this software. SX3. And concept 4 is failure management, and the software is Hystrix. Pros of microservices that it's component, it has by components, richer technology stack, the scalability and resilience. Distributed system. You have a huge distributed system with lots of parts. There are lots of tools, so huge infrastructure. Testing is hard, especially debugging between microservices as transactions are going through each other. And yeah, transactions. This guy showed a demo which can be found on GitHub, so you can check it out. I added link. The demo contains of 4 services: catalog service, product service, price service, and command service. And in this GitHub repository there is a documentation, so you can try to run these services. At the end, he said that when you have this amount of technologies, you must have DevOps. DevOps are necessary when you are using microservices. And his goal was that I would go out and could start building microservices. So I got the idea, and just need to check that example once again, and I think, yeah, I would be able. Another talk was by Itamar Sin-Hershko. His topic was logging makes perfect, real world monitoring and visualizations. This guy is distributed systems and architecture expert and consultant. Currently they are building innovative software for catching e-commerce fraudsters in real time. And the goal of his speech was to show how logging is important and provide some notes of his experience for logging. Yeah, he works at Forter. They are trying to prevent of fraudsters which are buying in e-shops products. An example would be that, for example, here we have a very smart girl which made a picture of her credit card because she got from her parents, and she didn't understood why her credit card in Twitter went so viral. And yeah, and fraudsters could use this information, and they can try to buy anything for you. So what their service is doing, they are checking by some algorithms if product can be sold and the credit card can be charged. So for example, Sean Smith ordered 3 MacBook Airs, but according to the history of his, previously his purchases was less than $100, and now it's 15,000. IP is different, and so on and so on. So in this case, their service is declining the order. So yeah, there how this works. The transaction details goes in and decisions goes out. Of course, yeah, for me it was also new stuff. I didn't know that services like this exist, but people are doing, and yeah, and the speed is very important for them. It's milliseconds. So logging and high availability is really important, and companies like GitHub is showing status publicly, performance graphs, so other companies could trust them. So he wanted to say that you should log and try to be highly available all the time. What do they monitor? They monitor latencies, availability, and high suspicious metrics, errors, exceptions, wrong processing, or data loss. Their system, that's not whole system of theirs. It is only logging part. This diagram. So they have, first of all, they have a detection part. Detection part does data collection. There are lots of data collectors, and the data is passed to other software called Riemann. A little bit later I'll talk about Riemann. Systems test here checks every part of the system if it works. CloudWatch is for monitoring services for Amazon Web Service. Pingdom for monitoring service for websites. CollectD, a daemon which collects system performance statistics periodically. So Riemann. Riemann is an event stream processor. It detects failures, expects different latencies from different components dynamically. It tolerates spikes, and it's for filtering and for routing data. Diagnostics parts is done by, in this part, it's Logstash, Elasticsearch, Kibana. And also there are, I don't have a slide, but there are Slack, PagerDuty, phone notifications, SMS, phone call, email part, where people are informed by if something wrong happens. Also, in this part, it searches for anomalies and goes back to aggregation. Sends to Riemann. Yeah. As they are monitoring everything, they need to visually show results so they could prevent from other issues. That's one of his slides. And at the end, he said that you should fail fast. What he meant is that if code throws exception, it should be logged and code should move forward. If it happens fatal exception, it should restart very fast. Auto-scaling groups keep enough machines up. And you should log everything. Alerts are useless without proper debug tools. Try to self-heal when possible. That humans are slow, so systems should self-heal if possible. Yeah. Another speech was by David Larrabee. It's called The Liberal Arts Programmer. David Larrabee is a product development coach. How he said he is building teams, and together they build products. And also he describes himself as peripatetic, which travels from place to place and going to help teams. Also Aristotelian. And the career path he knew, and his path he was following was like that. Developer, senior developer, architect, later CTO, and so on. And the path, one of the reasons why this path he didn't like, was at the beginning you a loser, later clueless, and later sociopath. So that is one of the reasons, but actually he got bored and he started doing something else. He started reading different kind of books, for example, from art history, biology, evolution, psychology, and so on. And started thinking what humans are good at. Are they good at trivia? Are they good at stories, innovation? But we are approaching moment when human does what human does. It would be done for us automatically, even generating ideas, design. For example, Google released an open source their, how he called artificial intelligence, TensorFlow. You can go check it out, try it at home, and also there is another link, imagination engines. These guys are trying to generate ideas automatically, so it's already, people are doing already. And it's possible that programming will not be that necessary at some point of time. And this is scary. So what we can do about it? He did not provide concrete answer, but it started to speak about lateral thinking, that we constrained ourselves into box of software development in our times. And lateral thinking is solving problems through indirect and creative approach, providing multiple solutions. And how he said, you should think in a lateral way. So you should provide not one solution when you are asked, you should provide 5, 10, and so on. Also, he provided some examples of every topic here, and which matches today's software development. For example, from architecture history, Oscar Niemann was an architect which designed a Brazilian city, and it was a huge design because it was done from like greenfield project. He designed the whole city, and it failed as it was planned to have one amount of people. But actually it was 10 times more, and so on. So the big architecture failed, and we can see that examples like these can be seen in software development too. Another example was tunnel of Eupalinos. When two teams were digging a tunnel in 6th century BC, they failed. And actually, if you would search in your daily work when two teams are working, and sometimes they fail too. So things and metaphors, you can use this as metaphors, these examples, and you can use it in daily work. And one of his suggestions was to use these metaphors. So when you are communicating with non-technical people in your company, they would understand you. And the conclusion, I assume that this is the answer how to still have a job in 20 years. You should read books, different kind of books, and exchange one set of books to another set of books, pull your skills in other ways, search similarities of software in other areas. You should use metaphors so other people would understand you, feel applicable to modern cocktail party conversation, and or just be liberal arts programming. So this was his talk. Another talk was by Sebastian Lamla, The Simple Life for RESTful Microservices. At the beginning, he said lots of time microservices, so would not need to say this word anymore. So he just sent it and said microservices, 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 microservices. He said he will not say this word anymore, but he failed, of course, as his talk was actually about microservices. So he shared experience of project he did with his team. They had a huge monolithic project. It was with 10,000 files. It was .NET project. It was not maintainable anymore, and the cost of trying to fix was too high. So they decided to have a greenfield project. But what to do? That project would not end up same. So shortly, they started from zero. With the team, they removed all the organizational titles from team members. So you were senior developer, now you are as all others. All the processes was forgotten. They decided to make an HTTP service, provide data via JSON. Of course, they read Blue Bible, DDD by Eric Evans. They did not touch code, only whiteboard and documentation. And they created URL examples, created services on paper only. And when they added first filter for JSON, it already passed 5 months for team. So yeah, it took a lot of time for that. And but at the end, they built a system that everything would be visible. They built a dashboard and built that would be seen which component is wired with another. And yeah, they logged a lot. It is a little bit similar with another talk which I was talking about logging. They logged, as he said, you should log everything, and you will detect issues, and testing will be, debugging will be easier. And started day 2. Day 2 started by Mel Conway talk, which is called Coding versus the Brain. Can't we all just get along? Mel Conway is a computer scientist. He's a computer programmer and hacker. He's very well known for Conway's Law. About the Conway's Law, I'll talk in another guy's presentation. And about the speech, it was about software builder. He presented a prototype for creating software in different way by using user interface. You just add components, wire them, and the direction of data flow goes from left to right, and you get display screen on screen on right. And I have a video. My colleague Edwin has made it, so I'll just show it to you. Of course, it will be 5 minutes, so I think it will be enough to get the idea. Yeah, so. Probably the guys which are watching in Vilnius, it will be hard to see them, but later I'm gonna share this video so they will be able to see once again. What he's doing here, he's adding here 3 components. It's called 3 text components, and in these components adding data. By the way, this guy was doing it not... Okay, shortly what he's doing here, he added 3 text components, wired them with collection component, which provides output of collection object. Then he runs inspector component, collection component, and adds selector component here, you see, and projects component on window. So when he added this project component, he got the window, and in the window he could make some actions. And he showed another examples, like there were little bit complex components, and when he was clicking on the component, and he could zoom in, and inside there were another components inside of them. So you could add any logic you want in there. Yeah, that's it about him, his prototype. And the main idea of his speech was that it took lots of time and effort for engineers. So object-oriented programming would be like we have today. So you never know how software will be created in the future. And maybe this one is a future programming style. Okay, next one. Another guy was Philip Trelford, Beyond Lists. The whole speech is in YouTube, but shortly. Yeah. So he showed example with F#. F# is functional programming language about immutable list sorting, and he demonstrated that you can be much faster when you are making sorting in mutable way. As actually functional programming is about immutability, but in this way you can do it much faster. So sorting will be much faster. And some conclusion of his speech was that you prefer safe and simple defaults. That means immutability. You should assume nothing. You should profile everything, check the performance. Mutable arrays are fast. Build fast data structures from arrays. You should be pragmatic, and they'll be your friends. This was short. Another topic was by Dylan Beatty. Domain architecture, isomorphism, how Spotlight inverted Conway's law. He is architect, developer, geek at Spotlight, and what is a Spotlight? It is a company which provides casting services. So if you are Arnold Schwarzenegger and you're searching for a job for new movies, so you can get a job via their website. The topic is how spotlight inverted Conway's law. So first of all, what is a Conway's law? Conway, the guy which I was showing presentation when you can build software in different way. So Conway's law says any organization that designs a system will produce a design whose structure is a copy of the organization's communication structure. It is from first sight it's difficult to understand, but we can say it in a more simpler way. That organizational structure reflects software. So if we have organizational structure, it would reflect your software. Some examples, maybe we have organization Amazon, and its organizational structure looks like that. At the bottom there are these losers, in the middle clueless, and sociopaths at the top. So according to Conway's law, their software should be similar. Google, a little bit complex, and Facebook, everyone speaking with everyone, and Microsoft. When you understand Conway's law, you're starting to understand about the software of Microsoft. And Apple, that's probably in Steve Jobs' times when the one man ruled everything. Oracle, legal sector, engineering sector. And he described how they moved to this organizational structure. This is of Spotlight. Till they come to this point, they tried a lot of variations, and at the end it looked like this. Blue bubbles are stakeholders, red bubbles are developers, yellow are project managers, or vice versa. And these blocks at the bottom are software. In their business, customers are separated into three groups: agents, performance, casting directors. And so software architecture looks like that. They went into this point, that according to their organizational structure, as it reflects, their software starts looking like that. And lessons learned, he provided that monoliths won't disappear overnight. People will get freaked out. So when you are refactoring, going to microservices, something can stop working, and it will hurt in a good way, as you have to change your mindset and so on. Another topic was by Tomer Gabel, onboarding at scale, an engineering problem. He is working in Wix. Wix is a web publishing platform distributed in Israel, Ukraine, and in Lithuania. They are growing rapidly. July they had 100. July 2013 they had 120 engineers, and 2015 350 engineers, more than 350 engineers, and in 2017 they're thinking double that. So they are growing really fast, and for that they needed training solution. So he talked about onboarding especially. So new developer comes, he needs to be prepared, so he would start delivering business value to company. How they were doing that, in first day it was orientation, human resources, administrational stuff. In 2 weeks they learned technology stack, team orientation, and in 2 months they knew whole full ecosystem and were starting delivering business value. So For that, they created Wix Academy, created training kit. This is server training kit, an example. They have lots of other kits, and also they have in that wiki feedback form, so and developer could provide for guys for that this documentation would be improved feedback. And the lessons learned, mentors are your biggest asset. Track team progress, help overcome obstacles, teach. And the biggest mistake they did, that they didn't listen for mentors. So when they started, they were moving much faster and everything went well. So you should include mentors in everything, have status, venting meetings, listen to them, provide guidance, tools and preparation time. Make sure to follow up. And another speech in day 2 was, it was the last speech, was by Russell Miles, and it's called Lies Them Lines and Consulting Lies, the Path to World Domination Through Microservices. Yeah, it's this kind of speech. This guy is CEO, as he described himself, he's in one company CEO, CTO in another company, and this presentation was most artistic, and if we would compare two types of movies, let's say it would be one type of movie would be biography, another type of movie would be cheesy comedy. This presentation was like cheesy comedy. It didn't provide any knowledge, or a lot of knowledge, but when you are tired after all the presentation in day 2, this presentation was like a bottle of beer for me, and I liked it. So, during his presentation he was playing 2 roles. One role was like himself, and another role was super duper consultant. So when he was wearing these glasses, he was a consultant, and so whole talk was sarcastic, and the example of his talk, is here, why 10 lines of code is always enough. It's yet saying this consultant obvious things, and an example like everything you are doing is right. Consultant comes to a company and saying everything you are doing is right. Just do it smaller. Small sub-services, small REST services, small teams. Small teams, ideally less than 1 person. Even small people. And how small? So if you want to know how small they should be, he knows people, other consultants who can help you, of course, for money. So at the end, he played a song from The Who, Won't Get Fooled Again. It was like a summary of his speech. And actually, he's true. Sometimes consultant says obvious things, which every developer understands, but somehow only the consultants are heard in companies. So that's what his speech was about. You just don't get fooled again. So started day 3. It started with Brian Trotwine getting a fill on candle, crushed spines, detached retinas, and one small step. It will be in part 2. It was a keynote, so I just showed it. Another speech was by Chris Condron, teaching my team CQRS. He's a software engineer and architect for more than 15 years. Was telling how he was coaching new teams and how they must change thinking. How much need to change when you are come from usual programming style into CQRS. And CQRS stands for Command Query Responsibility Segregation. And when he tried to talk with people, he got different responses. There were 4 types of responses. Some people were saying that, wow, this stuff is awesome, that sounds interesting, how do I do something, how that doesn't compute, and the last one was, no thanks, we don't need of your snake oil today. And yeah, usually when we are doing software like that, it's hard to see, but I'll just explain. At the top, top block is a client, at the middle is server, and at the bottom is database. And CQRS looks like that, and he was always saying that it is less complex, it is more simpler, and people were not getting how this one is more complex than this one, as there were only 3 blocks and now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. And this was his first challenge and first response about CQRS from guys. And usually when complexity grows, effort will grow exponentially. For you when you are developing software in usual way. And CQRS deals with complexity by replacing bidirectional flow with directional. But when first time they tried to build CQRS, they built that. Yeah, it happens. But when you're starting building, you should change thinking from procedural to compositional, from conditional to functional, from stateful to stateless. Of course, there was fear. Fear, most usual is fear for senior developers, that everything they knew they will not use anymore, and they will have to unlearn old stuff they learned. He created rules, silly rules for silly problems, which helps people thinking about how working messages, how to refactor, and how to write clean code. So first rule says no inheritance. Of course, during a QA session, one guy asked, is it really good rule, as he gave an example, and this guy agreed that in this case you should use inheritance. So how he said that in a special case with confirmation by him, let's say, you can use inheritance. Another rule, no else if, no nested if, no state, one and only one services. Also, other rules says that unit test for service can only reference the service. Unit test must be able to run in parallel. Always fully define the event queue. Yeah, as it is CQRS, you must define event queue. And also, I marked some notes to summarize. One of his quotes was, "You can change more if you need to fix it." Sometimes I catch myself also when developing that sometimes you need to make a small fix, but this fix is hackish, and if you want to fix the issue in a proper way, you would probably need to change lots of places. So what he said, that you should not be afraid of changing lots of places. If you need, you should do it. They was doing everything in iterative way, didn't design too much while they were trying CQRS. As from last speech, as I said, big design doesn't work. For learning CQRS, they did some examples, prototypes, and also he said that as he was coaching teams from all over the world, people said that people are learning differently. For example, China people are memorizing everything. So if you would give him PHP.NET, they would memorize all the functions. Another speech was by Pavel. It is the last speech of the conference I was attending. He presented what is mutation testing and showed live how it works. He showed, I think, with .NET or F#, but doesn't matter what is mutation testing, it can be used in PHP too. And to understand what is mutation testing, let's take an example. Here we have a method called calculate CO2 emission. We can provide engine size, and according to this engine size, it provides you emission, 200 or 400. Yeah, and there is a test which covers only one case. Ideally, we would need 4 test cases, as we have condition which says engine size less or equal than 4. So, but for full code coverage, we would need only 2 test cases. And let's say we forgot. We wrote tests, we wrote 2 test cases, and we forgot 1 test case. And how we could prevent this? That's why there is a mutation testing, and mutation testing actually tests your tests for your tests. For example, yeah, there are mutants, and in mutation testing, mutants is called code, which is a little bit changed, your function which is a little bit changed. For example, this one is changed, it's removed equal sign, and during mutation testing, when you are using tools, they are generating mutants, and these mutants are being run on your tests. And if your tests passes, that means that something is wrong in your tests. You should add additional test cases and so on. So I also saw that there are tools in PHP also in GitHub, so you can try it. And where it can be useful is that in numerical algorithms, calculations, core functionality, a lot of Boolean logic, and he said that mutant testing costs a lot, so it should be used only for critical places. Yeah, that's it. It was the last slide. If you have any questions. If no, thank you. No? Oh. I would prefer in English, but if you want, you can ask in Lithuania. I will translate. Why I went in that conference? I really wanted to see these guys like Uncle Bob, or like they are really. For me, they are really inspirational, and I wanted to see them in live and to hear what their presentations. And also, I got lots of knowledge during this presentation, during their presentations. So that was motivation that I would get knowledge, and I would be a better expert. Professional.
In your opinion, how was the topic that most of the students, developers, see your
Sorry?
What was the topic?
Yeah.
Kas buvo ta publika, kolegausia?
The question was which people were attending the conference, were they students, were they Lithuanian guys. I noticed that most of the public was foreign guys, but if you are talking about students, no, there were no students. There were people from other companies which were sent into this kind of conference from other countries. I was talking with one guy from, I don't really remember. Well, he said that he is always sent to conference like this, and they can choose every year. They have a budget in their company, and they're using every year this budget. So they usually go 2 times a year in conferences like this. And they said that it's cheap. Yeah, for us it's strange. Like 520 euros is cheap. Yes, it was. There was, but I was not attending to this. Okay, so I'll share my slides, and if you find it interesting, you'll be able to check it out. Thank you.